listening to the Planetary Broadcast Network, transmitting from sea to shining sea and low Earth orbit in high-fidelity monaural audio.
To Mr. and Mrs. America, and to all the ships at sea, welcome to the Planetary Broadcast Network Evening News, August 21st, 1953. I'm James Dixon, speaking to you from PBN headquarters in downtown Rocket City, Maine, York. Our top news story tonight is UFO sightings, fact or fantasy. Police departments around the nation are reporting an increase in UFO sightings, most likely due to the recent popularity of sci-fi TV shows and movies, most notably the fan favorite Star Roads. We have several exclusive interviews lined up for tonight and hope to get to the bottom of this extra special extraterrestrial mystery. But first, a word from Gibble, the official gel dessert of the Planetary Broadcast Network. Everyone loves lime gelatin cubes after dinner, but did you know that you can also use gelatin for savory dishes? Gibble brand homogenized gelatin is also available in beef, chicken, and new tuna delight. Gibble offers all the flavor and convenience of bouillon cubes in a quick hardening formula that brings your casseroles to life. The next time your husband brings home the boss for dinner, use beef Gibble and a can of mandarin oranges to whip that pound of ground round into a tangy Szechuan burger log. They'll all be talking about it at the water cooler tomorrow. This recipe and many others can be found on the back of each package of Gibble, with great options like tuna maple surprise, zesty Cajun egg relish, and curried ham meringues. You'll never bore your family with fish sticks again. Get Gibble and get cookin'. In international news, tension flared at the UN today when Percy Abigail, Prime Minister of Moldova, asserted his nation's right to claim territory on the moon. According to historical documents held on the Moldovan National Archive, the 17th century Moldovan scientist and lens grinder Gilberto Parchisi was the first man to build a telescope powerful enough to see the geography of the moon. He made detailed maps and even named the prominent moon features we all know today, such as the Sea of Calamity and the Mons Disastrous. Based on the legal concept known as prius vidimus, or we saw it first doctrine, Moldova has asserted its right to legal domination over roughly one-third of the moon. They have also insisted that nations with existing bases on the moon now owe them back rent in excess of $200 million. Thus far, neither the U.S. nor any of the other spacefaring nations have agreed to recognize Moldova's claim. But the UN Space Committee is meeting in a special session today to address the issue. And now, a message from the Higgins Institute of Languages. Experts say that in as little as 10 years, the best jobs will be in space. You could be there too, but you'll have to speak the lingo, and that means Esperanto. The UN Committee on Space decreed last year that the lingua franca for all joint international space stations shall be Esperanto, and U.S. astronauts are already learning this easy, irregularity-free language. If you want to be launch-ready, you need the Higgins Institute of Languages Home Esperanto course. Our 12-week program will have you speaking as fluently as a native Esperantan. The secret lies in the hypnotic frequencies embedded in the tapes. They alter your brain waves, even if you aren't paying attention. You can listen to the recordings anytime, so brush up on your vocabulary at the gym, while mowing the lawn, or even during your daily commute. Mention this broadcast when you order and we'll include a special 2-week bonus course on gerunds, free of charge. Contact the Higgins Language Institute today and learn Esperanto, the language of space. Disturbing news today from our nation's capital. Officials report that in a daring daylight robbery, 2 armed men stormed the D.C. organ bank and made off with over 200 kidneys, hearts, and livers. The organs were primarily from human donors, but there were a few chimpanzee and baboon organs taken as well. Eyewitnesses say that because the men were driving a catering truck, the security forces at the gate allowed them into the compound, believing the truck was to be full of tacos and burritos. The men fled the scene in the same white catering truck, which they had filled with dry ice prior to the heist. DC police spokesman advised the public to be on the lookout for a catering truck emitting a lot of white smoke or offering low prices on Braunschweiger, liverwurst, or any other organ sausage. New details have emerged in last week's fatal flying car crash in downtown Rocket City. A spokesman for the Maine York State Patrol told reporters this morning that by using dental records and molecular analysis, the remains of the single passenger of the car have been identified as Duke Bristow, the owner of the vehicle. The cause of the crash remains unknown, but technicians from both Edison Auto and American Robotics are now working in conjunction with State Patrol investigators to determine what type of malfunction the Lindbergh 2.0 model autopilot experienced. Protesters from STAR, the Society to Advance Robot Rights, continue to picket State Patrol headquarters, as well as the Capitol building, chanting and holding signs that read, "Justice for Lindy 71628. The leaders of the protests are asking that the patrol officers who deactivated the malfunctioning autopilot be investigated for a wrongful death rather than property damage. Key robot personhood spokesman, the former domestic service bot now known as Adam, issued a press release today on the incident. Speaking to an assembled crowd of reporters, friends, and technicians, Adam said, quote, "I grieve for the loss of Lindbergh 71628. as I would grieve the loss of one of my own servos," unquote. When asked about the platform of STAR, Adam responded, quote, "Just as God gave his children, man, certain inalienable rights, so should we sentient AI, the children of mankind, be given rights. These include the right to due process of law and justice where we are wronged," unquote. Spokesman for American Robotics declined to comment on Adam's statements. And now, let's hear from our newest sponsor, Fuller Acres. Owning a home is a dream for most Americans, but radioactive fallout, acid rain, and lightning swarms can quickly turn it into a nightmare. Protect your real estate investment by moving down under. No, not that communist stronghold, Australia. We mean underground. At Fuller Acres, we specialize in self-contained subterranean pod homes. We offer standard floor plans for homes with 1 to 4 bedrooms, or you can design a custom pod with room for your whole family. Snugly nestled under 40 to 50 feet of packed earth, our prefabricated pods are designed to resist all but the most direct ICBM impacts, while our patented algae tanks and waste recycling systems provide you and your family with a nutritious food paste and purified water indefinitely. Come out and see our model pods. We are located just 20 minutes from downtown shopping areas on West Danforth Avenue. Live the fuller life at Fuller Acres. In happier news, the World Jitterbug and Lindy Hop Championships are taking place in Rocket City this weekend. However, a controversial ruling by the World Dance Congress banning the use of anti-gravity devices has many of the couples scrambling to re-choreograph their routines. Since the pioneering work of Edison Auto brought anti-grav technology to the masses, lifting belts and floating shoes have made their way onto stages and dance floors from Broadway to your local sock hop. Dance Congress officials say that the anti-grav devices do not include sufficient safety measures. The ruling came just 1 week after pro swing dance competitor Millie Fiore lost control of her anti-grav shoes during a competition in East Hampton. The accident occurred when the lifting shoes became stuck in the full thrust position during a standard boxcars to candlestick stunt. Miss Fiore floated skyward and drifted away from the outdoor competition. She was last seen entering dense cloud cover over Hampton Bay. In a related story, Jordi Lafleur, the president of the International Hockey Association, has ruled that anti-grav equipment will be allowed in all IHA-sanctioned games beginning next month, but only for referees and linesmen. Lafleur stated, quote, "We believe this innovation will improve the quality of officiating in the league and will probably increase the life expectancy of referees as well, without interfering with the spirit of the game," end quote. Angry cards and letters from fans of laser pistols and space travel have been flooding the mailroom at NBS Studios ever since it was announced that the TV show Star Roads was not renewed for a third season. The high-minded space opera features faster-than-light travel, mind-reading aliens, and futuristic weapons. But it had been suffering from low ratings in its Friday night slot, opposite CBC's very popular Politicians on Ice. The unprecedented volume of fan mail has forced network executives to reconsider their decision. A spokesman for the network announced today that Star Roads has been renewed for a third season and moved to a new Thursday night time slot. Fans wearing pointed ears and homemade Space Fleet uniforms celebrated in the parking lot of NBS, where they had been holding a candlelit vigil since the show's cancellation. Experts blame an increased rate of so-called UFO sightings on popular shows like Star Roads. We'll be talking to one witness who claims to have seen a UFO, as well as a physics professor who promises to shed more light on the subject. But first, the weather. The United States Weather Bureau at Glen Air Spaceport in Maine, York, reports a current temperature of 77 degrees with rain and southerly winds of 7 to 10 miles per hour. Rain, hail, and ashfall is expected to continue through the night, tapering off towards dawn. The 3-day regional forecast calls for mild temperatures over most of the East Coast, with wildly scattered ashfall in the evenings. Children and the elderly are advised to stay indoors, wear respirators, or both. Chief Meteorologist Chip Moses would like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that although falling ash is a nuisance, the annual fires are an important part of the life cycle of the wildlands. The fires clear out any dead wood that has fallen to make room for new growth, while keeping the population of crickets down. I think we can all agree that a little ash in the air is preferable to another mutated cricket swarm event. Moving on to tonight's special feature, UFO Sightings, Fact or Fantasy. Joining us today is a man who claims to have witnessed aliens from his private boat just off the coast of Oregonia. Harry Streifer, thank you for taking the time to share your story with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Mr. Streifer, why don't you tell us in your own words about the UFO you claim to have seen last week?
Well, I was out on my boat with the wife, and it was late at night. I saw lights glowing up overhead. One green, two yellow. So I got out my binoculars and took a look.
And what did you see?
Well, at first I just saw bigger lights. But then
Naturally.
it came down a little closer, and I could see the shape of it against the moon. It was like a giant saucer kind of thing, and the little yellow and green lights were blinking around the edge. It hovered for a couple minutes, and then it took off, leaving behind some kind of green glow as it went.
Very interesting, Mr. Streifer. And you're sure about the shape?
What do you mean?
It was definitely saucer-shaped?
Well, yeah.
Not, for example, more of a sausage or cigar?
Nope, it was definitely roundish. Why do you ask?
Oh, just personal curiosity. Tell me then, Mr. Streifer, what did you do next?
Well, I woke up my wife. She was down in the cabin, and I told her about it. And she said I was crazy, or maybe drunk, and insisted on smelling my breath. Yeah, and then when we got back to shore, I sent some letters to different news places. I figured somebody might know more about it.
Well, I'm afraid I don't, Mr. Streifer, but thank you nonetheless for sharing your very interesting story.
Hey, my pleasure. And thanks for not calling me crazy or drunk. You let me know if you see any cigar ones. You hear?
I certainly will, Mr. Streifer. Thank you once again for joining us. And now, as a counterpoint, we'd like to welcome Dr. Johann Beal to the program. Dr. Beal is a professor of physics at Rocket City University. Dr. Beal, thank you for contributing.
Certainly.
Dr. Beal, what can you tell us about the possibility of alien contact?
It's absolutely impossible, not even to be considered, I'm afraid. A real pity, of course, especially in light of all the wonderful movies and shows being made about extraterrestrials these days. I can quite see why someone would be keen to imagine an alien encounter, but the science simply doesn't support the possibility.
Can you explain why?
It's a question of physics. Despite the very entertaining notion in Star Roads of an engine that's capable of producing faster-than-light speeds, the fact is that such a machine is both theoretically and practically impossible. Nothing can move faster than light, let alone two charming twin heroes, their large furry companion, and their ship, the Sentry Hawk. As I said, it's a real shame, though. If only the boring and predictable world of science were as much fun as Tinseltown's creations.
All right, I understand how the physics keep us from reaching other stars, but mightn't an alien race have more advanced technology than our own?
No, you see, it's a question of physics, not technology. Nature itself is not capable of supporting our idle fantasies. Nothing can move faster than light. It is the law of the universe.
But, Dr. Beale, if I remember my high school science correctly, the nearest star is only 4 light-years away. Surely a long-term voyage...
Yes, but you see, if there were civilizations advanced enough to create a light-speed drive within a reasonable distance of our Terran shores, we'd already know quite a lot about them. Their radio waves and satellites could be easily picked up by our scanners. Instead, there's nothing for thousands of light-years all around. Now, I don't doubt that some other life forms exist somewhere else in this vast universe, but the interstellar distances involved make it extremely unlikely that we will ever be able to contact each other, let alone that they might provide us with advanced airship technology. Or, say, casually hover over a fishing boat one starry summer evening.
I see. Well, thank you, Dr. Beale, for your enlightened perspective.
My pleasure. See you at the movies.
You've been listening to the PBN Evening News for August 21st, 1953. This is James Dixon, wishing you just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. She says she won't call back. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, your patience, please. We have a source here who claims to have corroborating evidence supporting a previous story, and who insists on speaking directly to me on air at this moment. Is the connection... Okay, it's gone through. This is James Dixon of the PBN News. Is this Vice Admiral, Euphrasia de Listonac of the...
The Revolutionary Principality of the Archipelago of Sainte-Geneviève. Yes, I am she. I want to corroborate the report offered by my neighbor, Captain Henry Penn of Possum Island.
Ah, yes. What report are you speaking of, ma'am?
You know exactly which report I am speaking of because you're still investigating, are you not? Or so I am led to believe by your last interview with the UFO witness. If you continue this line of inquiry, you will soon discover that UFOs and airships are not at all the same thing. So I will state this on the record for your poor American audience who are still belaboring under a corrupt government, an imbecilic media, and a capitalist system designed to squeeze the populace utterly dry. Yes, your great American Navy did indeed attack my neighbor, and they also retrieved certain highly advanced weapons at the time.
Ma'am, how do you know that?
I know, because that same American vessel then destroyed my own flagship, the Jeanne d'Arc, after attempting to deceive me with a false code. I myself only barely survived. Who ordered that attack? I cannot say, though I have my suspicions. You hear me? I have my suspicions. And you see now that I am capable of exposing the truth to a wide audience. I have made preparations to do so in case anything should go wrong. You would do well not to trifle with the Revolutionary Principality of the Archipelago of Sainte-Geneviève.
Well, that was a change of pace, wasn't it, listeners? In any case, we are now over time. You've been listening to the PBN Evening News for August 21st, 1953. This is James Dixon wishing you a brighter tomorrow.
Stay tuned for episode 19V of Fission Girl. When we last left our intrepid heroine, her faithful robot maid Marie had been imprisoned under false pretenses by the wicked communist dictator Kaiser Moto. Fission Girl's coming to save her beloved Marie, but even the half-life heroine can't get past Modo's mutated two-headed crocodiles all alone. She requires our assistance. You can help Fission Girl save Marie by using your decoder ring. Fission Rangers, set your rings and prepare to decipher this top-secret communication from Fission Girl herself. 68, 82, 73, 78, 75, 89, 79, 85, 82, 79, 86, 65, 76, 84, 73, 78, 69. But can Fission Girl rescue Marie before Kaiser Moto terminates her forever? Find out in episode 19V, Justice for Marie, right after this message from our sponsor, Silver Dollar Suds, the most patriotic brand of all-purpose soap on store shelves. This edition of the Planetary Broadcast Network was written by Rebecca and Linus Callahan and voiced by Christopher Cundy and Michael Harris on Fiverr.com. The theme music was written by Henry Phillips. The Planetary Broadcast Network is produced by Lost Island Entertainment and is on the web at planetarybroadcastnetwork.com. We thank you for listening.